Take one.
We good?
Not yet. Hold on.
It
Okay.
shows on my computer webinar is now streaming live on YouTube.
All right. Now we are live.
We are live. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to bring the August 5th, 2020 Evesham Municipal Utilities Authority meeting to order. Please read the opening statement.
Adequate public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the Director of Finance, Deputy Executive Director of the Evesham MUA on February 7th, 2020 in the following manner. Emailing written notice to the Burlington County Times, Courier Post, and Central Record. Posting written notice on the official Evesham MUA website. Filing written notice with the clerks of Evesham and Medford. This statement shall be entered into the minutes of this meeting.
Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the
United States of America
and to the
republic
republic
for which it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a motion to approve the July 1st, 2020 meeting minutes?
So move.
Second.
Second. Any questions, comments, additions, or deletions? Lou?
Well, not specific to the actual minutes. I did go back and listen to the video, and I would like to, for the record, correct the statement that I made. And I misspoke when I was referencing the first COVID positive test. When I said that the employee had come in on Monday, had been out on Tuesday, I then said was out Wednesday through Friday, and obviously that wouldn't have been the situation based on the balance of the discussion. That particular employee indeed did work Wednesday through Friday. So for a public record, I just want to correct myself. It wasn't that specific item did not appear in the minutes, but it is on the video, and I spoke in error.
Okay. Do you want us to add it to the minutes, or just does this suffice?
Not necessary, as long as it's recorded this time, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay, no one, please call the roll.
Chris, you might be muted.
Christine.
I could call the roll if she's having technical difficulties. Is that okay, Mr. Chairman?
That's perfectly fine. Thank you, Laura.
Okay. Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Mr. Lutner,
Aye.
Ms. Jamino,
Aye.
Mr. Tenza,
Aye.
Mr. Waters.
Aye. Resolution 2020-101, payment of bills. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions on the bill list?
No.
Okay. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Ms. Jamino,
Aye.
Mr. Lutner,
Aye.
Mr. Tenza,
Aye.
Mr. Waters.
Aye. Resolution 2020-102, refunds, credits, and cancellations. Can I have a motion, please?
So move.
Second.
All right. Does anyone have any questions on this agenda item?
No.
Okay. Seeing no one, please call the roll.
Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Ms. Jamino,
Aye.
Mr. Lutner,
Aye.
Mr. Tenza,
Aye.
Mr. Waters.
Aye. Resolution 2020-103, award of contract in excess of $6,600 to Ace Duct Cleaning in the amount of $7,650 to clean, sanitize, and deodorize entire duct system at all three plants. Can I have a motion, please?
So
So
moved.
Second.
Second. All right, who has this one?
I have, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr.
Resolution 2020-103 is for ACE duct cleaning services. This is another step for authority to fight the COVID-19 virus. We're having an HVAC company that comes out and they will do some duct work, do our cleaning at our 3 treatment plants for a cleaning inspection of all the HVAC companies.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Booth?
Jeff, do they have all filters in that ductwork?
Yes.
Are they cleaned periodically?
Yes.
Are
we
they
have a,
changed rather, not cleaned? Are they changed?
yeah, we change them on a routine basis. When we take them out, we time stamp them, so we're up on them. I believe it's every 6 months.
All right, maybe we could double up with this COVID going on.
Yeah, I can certainly look into that.
All right, thank you.
Jeff, do you know what their process is? Generally?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. We went out and had 3 companies all come in and told us how they were going to sanitize it with the solution, go in there, clean it, inspect it, and make sure it was good for us. So I don't know the particular process. I can find out exactly, but as of right now, I don't know the process.
I think it's a great idea. Well worth it.
Jeff, do you know if they spray a biocide as well?
They probably will, and that's something we had started doing also in-house. So I'm quite sure they'll put some kind of some germicide or some kind of bacteria fighting solution in there.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
Is that goes CDC specs to where they're doing it? Could you find out?
Yeah, we did not look into it. We're not doing this because it's a CDC guideline or recommendation. It very well could be. This is just something that we're further doing to enhance the safety of our employees.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
Yes.
Anyone else? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Ms. Jamino,
Aye.
Mr. Lettner,
Aye.
Mr. Tenza,
Aye.
Mr. Waters.
Aye. Resolution 2020-104, authorizing award of contract through Omnia Partners National Cooperative Purchasing Program to Software Inc. and Mallory Safety and Supply in the amount of $15,749.22 to purchase additional video alarm installation and service agreements for Elmwood, Woodstream, and Kings Grant plants. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Did you say second, Al?
Second.
Okay. All right. Who's got this one? Laura?
I have this again.
Oh, you have it again? I'm sorry. Jeff.
This is a resolution for Safeware Inc. and Mallory Safety and Supply. They will be installing and supplying materials for cameras at the Elmwood, Woodstream, and Kings Grant wastewater treatment plants. These new devices will be integrated with the recently installed and new camera systems that we have in place already at the wells. This will enhance the authority's security reach.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Jeff?
I just have one quick question, Jeff. What
Sure.
will they be at the gates of each
No,
location?
these will be placed in the buildings to see, they'll be triggered with motion and
All right.
inside the building. So if anybody reaches our building, they'll automatically go on and start recording.
Okay.
This is the same
Anyone else?
camera system. This is a branch of the same camera system we put in all the wells, which has been working amazingly well since we had that installed several months ago.
Okay. Anyone else? Please call the roll.
Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Ms. Jamino,
Aye.
Mr. Lettner,
Aye.
Mr. Tenza,
Aye.
Mr. Waters.
Aye. Resolution 2020-105, award of open-ended contract to RD Zulli, Inc. in accordance with their bid not to exceed $400,000 for emergency repair services. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Jeff, do you have this one too?
Yes, sir. This resolution is for a local contractor, RD Zulli Inc., to do emergency work that may be out of the scope of what the authority is capable of doing. As you said, this contract is not to exceed $400,000.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Jeff? Yes, Lou.
Jeff, Chairman?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
I don't-
I'm sorry. I
No,
thought
I
Lou
was
had his
on
hands
mute.
up.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Just a quick question, because so how did this? What's the overall relationship with Julie, and how did it go over the last year? And you know, having them, you know, basically on retainer to help us.
So last year we had a couple small hiccups, nothing, no major violations, things that we had spoke to them to correct. And going forward, we had another contractor bid whose bid was much more than RD Zuli had submitted. So RD Zuli had won this award also. One thing that we're going to do with Mr. Zuli's crew at this time is before we execute this contract with him, we're going to sit him down and let him know what our expectations are as far as our safety and our security for our infrastructure and our assets. And one other thing that we're going to do is when we have such emergencies, we're going to meet the foreman out on site and sort of have a tailgate talk. Also addressing what we feel is our safety and security concerns when we're working with our assets. So, and furthermore, if we feel that there's a post follow up with them, we'll do that also on the job site. So we're going to pay closer attention to some of the small infractions that his company had made in the previous year.
Thank you for that perspective.
Okay, Lou, you were there and then Nancy.
Okay. Did Henkels and McCoy not pick up a bid and submit?
That I do not know. I just know that there was another contractor who also submitted bids.
I can answer that, Lou. Henkels and McCoy did not request a bid package. The other bidder was Crest Construction Group.
That's in the bid tab that you.
Yes.
Yeah, they're significantly higher. I saw that.
Yeah.
The other issue that I would have is that, from my perspective, going into a confined space entry without proper PPE or verification that they are trained to go into such, I don't personally consider that a minor infraction. But then again, I expect everybody on this call that expect me to say something like that. So I think it's a good step, Jeff, that you're instituting all of these items in light of that infraction, violation, whatever you want to call it. So I think that's good. Personally, irrespective, I'm not voting because there's a full cadre of commissioners. I would not vote for this based on his past safety history. But again, and I had mentioned about quality performance when we had issues with the water main replacement contractors. And Mr. Gillespie directed me to the public procurement law. And I had no reason to doubt him, but I wanted to read as much of it as I possibly could because it is very different than when you're in the commercial sector. And it's really very hard to disqualify a contractor. The procedure is, it really has to be adjudicated before you go and disqualify a contract. But I wouldn't vote based on his safety history. My personal opinion.
We did, we figured out the Phillies. What's the Phillies score?
Nancy?
So, Jeff, I just want to ask about, do you know how much was spent in prior years for the emergency repair, Jeff or Laura, I guess? It's 400,000, about what you spend.
Thank you.
I'm going to say off the top of my head that the jobs that he did last year for us was, I'm going to say probably right around like 125 to 150. And I could be misquoting. I'm just thinking on some of the POs that I had requested.
That's okay. 400 sounds like a lot, and it sounds like much more than you would have for an emergency even over a year.
I can say, Nancy, I don't think we spent anywhere near 400,000 last year, but I can look up that number. And
no, that's okay. It was really just so we're not going to get near 400. It's not that you anticipate spending that much. You're just allocating that.
Correct.
We typically try to do them in-house, right? Is that?
Yeah, so keep this in mind, Nancy, that as I said in the briefing, is that these are things that generally the MUA, it's a little bit out of their scope, maybe too deep, maybe some real bad soil conditions that
Understood.
generally it's because of the depth. And the deeper you go, the higher the price goes, so to speak. Laura had made a breakdown of an actual, an 8-hour cost of a main break-in. And I don't know if you saw her analysis, but this contractor, RD Zoli, is roughly $1,500, close to $2,000 cheaper.
Okay. And
on an estimated easy 8-hour break.
I remember, Jeff, that recently there was a main break on Eastborough Medford and they did it, and I thought that went well. You were pleased with the work they did there.
That's
I'm
correct.
not mistaken.
That was a forced main break in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and overall, you're happy with their work.
Yes.
And as far as I know, there was only that one infraction, minor or not, and I wasn't even sure that that was verified. So, and I appreciate you working with them and going over what you need to and move forward. But they are a good contractor from everything I've heard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed, you're muted.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Ms. Jamino,
Aye.
Mr. Lutner,
Aye.
Mr. Tenza,
Aye.
Mr. Waters.
Aye. All right, resolution 2020-106, award of contract through use of the competitive contracting process to Seduru for a 5-year asset management software contract in the amount of $99,960 for the first year and not to exceed $56,160 per year for years 2 through 5. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Laura, is that you?
It's actually going to be Chris Vandenberg. He
Oh,
has,
hi, Chris.
he's done a lot of research on this over the past 2 years, and he actually analyzed all the bids.
Chris, you're up.
This resolution is to enter a licensing agreement for an enterprise asset management system for the purpose of ultimately leveling up our focus on infrastructure health and asset management, and increase our decision-making capabilities through data collection tools, work assignment management tools, capital planning modules, scenario modeling tools. I'm going to show you just a couple slides because most of you I saw a long presentation about a year ago, and I just want to give a quick refresher. I'm going to make this very brief. The asset management department mission is to, I break it down in 3 sections: to reduce risk, increase level of service, and maximize the value of the EMUA assets. And this serves to support our overall organization mission in some of the later areas of the statement. We do that through what I've broken down as 4 unique areas, but in a nutshell, it's improving our data collection methods, and powering up our ability to leverage that data that we collect. Maybe a good analogy would be if you want to do, open heart surgery on a patient, which is like how we work on our infrastructure. You need to start with the stethoscope. So we're increasing our ability to take the pulse of our infrastructure and then increasing our ability to plan what tasks we want to perform, ultimately seeing a reduction in emergency repairs and an increase in our precision when making decision-making on a large scale level with capital planning or on just an everyday routine operational strategy. That's the goal. The way we're going to do that is to use an enterprise asset management system that will look something like this. I mean, it's a front-end service request to work order system all the way to a back-end capital planning tool water modeling components, and it works on tablets, it works on desktops, and that's about it. I can go into depth if anybody has any questions, but I'm just trying to give an overview of what's not in the report that was provided to the board. New Jersey is the first state really to regulate asset management in this capacity, and within the state, going forward with a tool like this and utilizing it to that capability will make us somewhat of a state leader in the area of optimizing and formalizing our asset management capabilities, as opposed to just meeting that state compliance, which is kind of in its infancy nationwide.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. Yes, Byron.
I spent some time with Chris questioning his approach and strategy and context, and I think he's done a fine job in understanding how to meet the requirements of New Jersey's Water Quality Accountability Act, which is the asset management legislation, how to go deeper and further into the intent, which improve our operational capabilities and capital efficiency and overall productivity. And I'm really impressed about all the work that Chris has done. And we are going to be leaders in complying with the new legislation and be an example for the rest of the country. This is really what's needed to have better water systems. So my hat's off to Chris. Good job. And everyone that was involved.
Thank you, Byron.
All right, anyone else? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Ms. Jamino,
Aye.
Mr. Leitner,
Aye.
Mr. Tenza,
Aye.
Mr. Waters.
Aye. Resolution 2020-107, award of contract in excess of $6,600 to Color Tech Printing and Mailing in the amount of $8,228.28, not to exceed $10,000, for a one-year contract for the printing, folding, inserting, and mailing of monthly sewer and water invoices and discontinuance notices. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
May I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Who's got this one?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
We received quotations on July 30th, and we solicited from quotes from 3 vendors. We received 1 responsive quote from Color Tech. Their price remains about the same as we've been paying with the current contract. Just by way of background, the authority used to perform all of these billing procedures in-house, and that included printing the bills, folding the bills, stuffing them into the mailing envelopes, sorting them into the postage bin, and delivering them to the post office. To accomplish this, we leased a folding and stuffing machine. We encountered numerous performance issues with the machines. We actually had 2 different ones throughout the course of this time. So in 2015, I began to look at outsourcing this procedure. And it developed into outsourcing not only the folding and the inserting of the bills into the mail envelopes, but also the printing of the bills and the late notices and the delivery to the post office. And this contract pays for itself in savings, not only from the monthly lease payment for the folding machines, but also the purchase and then the maintenance of a high volume printer that was very expensive. The ink, we went through a lot of ink that was expensive, but most importantly, the savings and efficiency gained with the billing supervisor's time and efforts in this process. For the printing and preparation for mailing processes, it used to take her a day and a half each month. Now her time and attention can be spent on other projects and tasks. And in addition, because the billing and late notice statement files, they're simply generated and then they're placed onto a secure FTP server for the vendor, there are additional savings as a result that one of our field personnel no longer has to come to the main office to pick up the trays of bills and then drive them to the post office, which is in Cherry Hill, because that's where our permit requirement is. ColorTech was our vendor about 3 years ago. They did an excellent job for the authority. So I recommend the award of the one-year contract to ColorTech based on their competitive quotation and our past positive experience with them.
Thank you, Laura. Does anyone have any questions for Laura? Okay, seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Ms. Jamino,
Aye.
Mr. Lutner,
You're on mute, Al. Still muted. There you go.
There it goes.
Aye.
Mr. Tenza,
Aye.
Mr. Waters.
Aye. Okay, resolution 2020-108, authorizing the retention of CSD Energy Advisors to provide no-cost energy procurement consulting service to the Evesham Municipal Utilities Authority. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, who's got this one?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Laura, go ahead.
Thank you. CSD Energy Advisors, they have been our energy consultant for a number of years. Their primary service to the authority has been to secure third-party energy supply contracts with competitive rates, which they have done successfully in the past, resulting in considerable savings in our electric bills. CSD secured the current third-party supply contract with Plymouth Energy, which commenced in March of this year for a 2-year term. CSD's compensation is at zero cost to the authority as they receive their compensation from the supplier. Based on the authority's past year of kilowatts used, their compensation equates to about $17,358 for the year, which, as I just stated, is completely paid by the energy supplier. The main purpose of their new contract, if it's approved, is to name them as the authority's energy consultants, which allows them to be the point of contact, not only with Plymouth Energy, but also PSE&G and Atlantic City Electric, to handle any issues which may arise and to keep the authority current on any relevant market issues, market information, which may impact the authority. CSD proved to be a true advocate when they handled, on behalf of the authority, a nightmarish billing issue with PSE&G, resulting from PSE&G changing their billing software, which resulted in catastrophic billing errors and issues. They spent the hours communicating with PSE&G until the problem was resolved. If they had not, that task would have fallen to me. This was in early 2019. Based on their positive performance in the past in both handling energy issues which arise and their ability to secure cost-effective energy supply contracts, I recommend a 1-year contract to CSD Energy.
Thank you, Laura. Does anyone have any questions for Laura? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Ms. Jamino,
Aye.
Mr. Lutner,
Aye.
Mr. Tenza,
Aye.
Mr. Waters.
Aye. Executive Director's Report. Mr. Rollins?
Okay, since our last board meeting, there have been no water main breaks. It's been a good month. There have been 5 discolored water reports and 4 water odor reports, 3 of which were related to chlorine odor. On July 20th at the Kings Ramp plant, the plant violated its pH limits. It's a very minor exceedance. It was corrected immediately. It was due to a low flow condition as the very dry weather at that period reduces the amount of flow that the plant sees and pumps through. So as the flow drops off, the sulfuric acid addition towards the end of the plant to adjust the pH for final discharge ends up concentrating. And it was happened to be a operator in training day. So it got past that operator, but that's a lesson that they learn and will never forget. So we adjusted the pH and got it back into compliance, and we reported that to the state. I also have another matter to bring to your attention, but it'll take maybe 5 minutes. And before I get to that, I want to ask Laura to update us on the COVID financial impacts. and our rate structure analysis work thus far with our finance committee. And then Frank has a few updates, and then give me back 5 minutes, please, and I'll just introduce the issue.
Take 7 if you need it, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll start with the rate structure. So we continue our analysis of our current rate structure, and it is apparent that some type of a realignment between water and sewer rates is required. And that's due to the issuance of the 2019 revenue bonds last fall for the financing of various water capital improvement projects, while at the same time experiencing a significant reduction in the sewer debt service, and that's due to the maturity of the 2012 revenue bonds. The authority's auditor performed a study of the authority's operations and resulting fund balance for fiscal year 20, and the water side actually performed better than expected, and the sewer side, as expected, performed exceptionally well. The auditor reported his findings to the finance committee, that's Alan Mike, yesterday, and we are all comfortable with continuing our careful analysis of the rate structure and anticipating presenting to the full board some options in regard to the future rate structure adjustments, with the intent to implement any rate adjustments January 1st, 2021. There is no need to rush into any changes immediately, which is a good thing. This allows us time to review all options so that we present the best of those options in September. I will be fine-tuning these options with our auditor in August. Later on this month, we will then present these results to our finance committee on August 25th with the intent to present the best options to the full board for their consideration in September. Are there any questions before I move on to the COVID-19 study?
Don't see anything. Thank you, Laura.
Okay, you're welcome. So regarding the COVID-19 impact, so as you know, I have been tracking both of our revenues and our cash receipts by comparing them month by month to 2019 since March when all of this started. And overall, I have seen a minimal impact in both. Revenues are down overall by only $36,555.32, and that's over a 4-month span. And I cannot directly correlate this to COVID-19. The amount is immaterial, and this type of decrease can be attributed to other situations, most likely to be differences in wet and dry seasons between this year and last. Regarding our cash receipts overall, we are down by $92,998.60 over the same 4-month span when compared to 2019. And this is also relatively insignificant considering our cash receipts year-to-date total for service charges was $16,881,792.24 for fiscal year 20. And moreover, when I compare our fiscal year cash receipts for service charges to fiscal year 19's, we actually experienced an increase in receipts over 2019 in the amount of $56,439.86. So throughout the authority's history, cash receipts, they do fluctuate when compared to the same month in a different fiscal year for whatever reason. So right now, I do not see any impact in either revenues or cash receipts, which I can directly say is a result of COVID-19. And if there are any impacts, they are minimal at best. Having said this, of course, I will continue to carefully monitor each month and report to the board.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Laura on this? Okay, seeing none. Do you have anything else to add, Laura? Do we hand it back to, or we hand it over to Frank?
You can hand it over to Frank. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Locator, you're up.
Good evening, folks. How are you? I hope everybody's well and enjoying their summer. I'll keep it real brief. I know that's hard to believe when I'm talking, but I'm going to keep it brief. But since I last met with you folks, we've begun the process of revising the safety committee bylaws. After the July meeting, I put a request out to the staff, to people who want to participate in the committee, to review the bylaws, and I did get a response from several individuals. So we're in the process of doing that. We've also kind of restructured, for lack of a better term, or refocused the safety coordinator's job descriptions. Safety coordinator Rich Foley he'll be the individual who would use the term boots on the ground that will be out there, doing on-site inspections of our people. He'll also be checking contractors when they're out there in any of our operations. He'll be pointing out any safety violations. He has the authority to shut a job down if there's a safety violation, and recommend to me any disciplinary matters or any disciplinary action that might need to be taken. So that process is in the works as well. As far as we've had two minor incidents of property damage. It's our own property. One of our backhoes was passing by the filter press building, and there was a rope. The rope to the door got hooked on the tire, and it just pulled the door panel, dented it a little bit. And then one of our people were backing up the large dump truck and brushed against. And we have a yard hydrant at Elmwood Road, and there's a valve on there, and that's where vendors who do street sweeping for the township come in and fill water so we can meter the water. And when the dump truck brushed against that fitting, one of the seals started to leak. Both of those drivers were drug tested. As far as injuries go, we did have one other incident of property damage, but this was due to Mother Nature. The roof at the Elmwood plant, particularly the section over our conference room, leaked. We had those, not counting the hurricane, we had those two back-to-back storms back at middle of July. I think it was like on 2 consecutive Wednesdays, we had those real bad rainstorms. So the roof leak, we're getting estimates, we're submitting them to our insurance carrier for reimbursement and to get it repaired. We had two, for lack of a better term, work-related injuries. Both were very, very minor. One was just recently, about a week ago. One of our employees was in a house doing a final read, and there was a mover in there, and they were cleaning out, and the mover threw an empty cardboard box down the stairs and brushed against the side of our employee's face. There were no injuries, but to err on the side of caution, as we usually do, we had him fill out a workplace injury report. There was no treatment needed, and there's no follow-up as far as that goes. And then, unfortunately, we did have a second situation with an employee who reported testing positive for COVID. I was notified late one evening by the employee that he had been ill and gotten a positive test. Immediately, as we've done before, began the process of contact tracing. He really only had contact with one employee, and that employee was wearing PPE at the time of the contact. The following morning, I notified Workman's Comp about the occupational exposure. Actually, Workman's Comp's instructions to us, our compensation carrier, was that there was no action that needed to be taken since the employee was wearing PPE. But to err on the side of caution, we asked Workman's Comp to have this employee tested for COVID, and the employee tested negative, and it has returned to work. Other than that, everything is, we're just, proceeding along through the summer, and that's really all I have for right now.
Does anyone have any questions for Frank? Okay, so no one? Yeah, Lou, go ahead.
Just real quick, I don't have the committee list. Is this, and I don't recall, I know we had the discussion, is the safety committee all in-house, or is there a commissioner on it as well?
No, it's all in-house.
I'm sorry.
Right?
Sorry.
No, that's all right. It's all in-house. We don't have a commissioner safety committee. That's done via the employees.
Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. All right. Seeing none, Jeff, you got your 5 minutes.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring to your attention, I was requested by Land and Sewer Authority to consider joining a legal challenge to a New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection rule adopted back in June 1st, 2020, and join a coalition of other groundwater dischargers. So we have 3 wastewater treatment plants. Elmwood and Woodstream are surface water dischargers. Kings Grant is a groundwater discharge plant. And they want to extend the PFAS, the fluorinated alcohol, polyfluorinated alcohol substances regulations into the groundwater arena. And by doing so, it affects groundwater dischargers. And they have modified so far 32 permits. They've opened those permits and are proposing modifications to them based on those PFAS chemicals. The challenge, the basis for the challenge is that the DEP improperly summarized the economic, social, and employment impacts of the rule. There were errors in the calculations for PFAS, that's the perfluorooctanosulfonic acid standard and wastewater cost. There's a lack of approved or scientifically sound methodology for wastewater testing. There's an approved national standard testing for drinking water, but wastewater is a different matrix and there's different interferences with wastewater. And the fact that these PFAS chemicals are nearly ubiquitous in consumer products. They're in so many things. Firefighting foam is what most commonly we think of those, but it's also in makeup, hair products, clothing, carpeting, paint, cookware, nonstick cookware. So it's kind of everywhere. So you can imagine it's going to be in your wastewater. So if you're looking for it in the level of parts per trillion, you're going to come up with something probably. And that means you're going to be required to do treatment. You're going to remove it. That's going to get very expensive. So they just want to make sure this coalition is going into this, not with the belief that there should be no regulations on the wastewater side of PFAS chemicals, but that the regulation needs to be very sound, very scientific, very supported by good science. So that's their thinking on this. And since we have a groundwater discharge permit, that we should seriously consider joining that coalition. But I don't want to do so without first having vetted their claims to the scientific validity of the underpinnings of that rule, and that I need to discuss it, of course, with Wayne Simpson and John Gillespie, and formulate a proper understanding of what our options are regarding this invitation. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention that that's on the burner. And so for the next 3 or 4 weeks, I'm going to be looking into that more deeply. So expect some sort of additional information that may lead us to a decision will need to be made at the September meeting. So that's about all I have on that. I just want to give you a little heads up on that.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. And I do want to say for full transparency, I will be recusing myself from this because of the industry that I'm in. I think it causes me to have a conflict of interest. So I'm going to recuse myself from any discussions on this issue. Okay, engineers report, Mr. Simpson.
One quick question.
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry.
Jeff, when they issued the rule itself, did they just issue it without any public comment or anything?
No, they did the public comment, but the claim from the coalition is that they didn't properly or fully address the public comments. And then additionally, there were, same way with the wastewater testing, is the wastewater testing protocol for it to be adopted as a national standard has to be published in the Federal Register. And that triggers a public notification as well. And the claim again is there that they didn't thoroughly address all the scientific points that were made, like the calculations and so forth. So it's contentious or contended upon that the public comment process did take place, but it took place improperly or limited.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been more robust.
I don't recall. There's been a lot of articles I've read. I know Pennsylvania came out with their own as well. I didn't. Is the federal government actually going to issue something?
Well, the standard that they're concerned about is the wastewater testing standard. So if you have a national standard, then you'll have comparable results, one laboratory to another laboratory. So let's say, you get one laboratory and you don't like the results. Well, switch laboratories, give it a try, because they'll use a different method and maybe you'll get a different number. Well, that's no way to regulate pollution and to go through very expensive capital improvement plans, millions of dollars spent in capturing, concentrating, and now what are you going to do with the material that you have? You've taken it out of the wastewater. It's not going into the groundwater. That's a good thing. But now what do you do with it? Can you incinerate it? I don't think so, but that's further down the road. That's not really what they're addressing initially. They're addressing that the manner in which they adopted that regulation was improper. And that's beyond my pay scale. I can't weigh in on that. I need to speak to Wayne and John about that, about others that Wayne might be aware of that are similarly affected, given that there are 32 as of, I see, when was this sent to me? About 3 weeks ago. So given that back then there was already 32 permits that were opened, like Kings Grant permit, we have a permit that's doesn't expire till 2026, I think. But they can open that permit and put in place a different rule, limitation, requirement.
Thanks for the detail, Jeff.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none. Mr. Simpson, you're up. Engineers report.
Good evening, everyone. There's nothing new to report on the Southside Water Storage Tank. On ASR Well 13 treatment building, everything is up and running. We're just waiting for Emerson to come in and make the revisions to the SCADA system that are required to monitor the new system. I don't have a set schedule on that yet. They've been very slow to commit to coming in, both because of the virus and other issues they have, I guess, but we'll stay on them. The well 14 screen replacement is finished, so that will be processed for final payment soon. Locust Avenue pump station upgrade, that is going well. Quad is doing a good job keeping things moving out there. They are installing the wet well. In fact, I think that's all installed now, and they'll be moving on to the piping and the pumps that will go on probably for another month to 6 weeks. Route 70 water and sewer mains, still working on easements. Elmwood resiliency improvements, that is stuck up in DEP. DEP has been very slow to get back on anything these days. I have emailed them a few times. I will keep doing so to try to get this to the point where the authority will be authorized to bid. Everything else is ready for that. Knox Boulevard water main, the contractor's out replacing services, although slowly. He is getting it done. And then they will move on to Main Street to do the work out there. Heritage Village, we expect paving to begin soon, but the work on Main Street, I don't have a definite schedule on that yet. The Elmwood Storage Building, we've placed that on hold. Jeff Rollins asked us to do that pending availability of funds. The tertiary filter rehabilitation, we have postponed the bid opening from tomorrow until August 20th. Contractors had a lot of questions, and we have just issued our second addendum on that to make sure everybody's understanding the plans and specifications properly. And I think we'll be able to take that bid on the 20th.
Okay. Motion to approve a proposal from Richard A. Alimo Associates in the amount of $150,000 for the design, construction, administration, field inspections, and project completion certifications for the tertiary filter replacement at Elmwood Wastewater Treatment Plant. Can I have a motion, please?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
One quick correction, it's not for the design. It's just the construction administration, field inspections.
Okay, then we will strike design. Is that okay with the person who moved it and seconded it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Wayne? Okay. Yes, Lou.
Yeah, Wayne, in looking over your package, and I understand as the engineer, you don't take responsibility for the work or their safety or anything like that. Could you define in the pre-construction meeting, when you define working relationships, does that include, I know that pre-construction meeting, you go over, all the safety requirements and the like. But can you define the working relationships? That's pretty broad, I think.
Are you basically asking me to do so with regard to safety?
Yeah, it's got to be reviewed, whether that's going to fall, as Frank said, on Richard Foley or yourself. I mean, that's what I'm getting at, working relationship.
Okay,
Who's
at
gonna do that?
at the pre-construction meeting, we discuss or advise the contractor that according to the contract, safety is the sole responsibility of the contractor. However, we will have personnel on site. That's what our field inspectors and construction managers are there for. And if we see something that is in violation of OSHA or any other safety requirement that we are aware of, we will bring it to the contractor's attention and give him ample time to resolve that safety violation. If they do not seem to be moving or do not move quickly enough to resolve the issue, we will report the issue to OSHA. And that is stated in every pre-construction meeting.
Thanks, Wayne.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Please call the roll.
Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Okay.
Ms. Jamino,
Aye.
Mr. Lutner,
Aye.
Mr. Tenza,
Aye.
Mr. Waters.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to Wood Lake Drive water main. We expect the contractor to start out there in the next week or two. It should not take them very long to do that work. But we haven't had a firm date yet on their start. Well 7 building, we expect to complete the design this month. So hopefully next month I'll be asking for authorization to advertise that. Greenbrook Drive water main replacement. We will be holding a pre-construction meeting later this month. Just working around people's vacation schedules at this point. Elmwood wastewater treatment plant. That's the office upgrade at the control building.
Okay, motion to approve a proposal from Tri-State Architects, PC, Alimo Group, in the amount of $5,000 for the second floor office renovations, design, and construction documents. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Wayne?
I would just like to make
Sure.
a comment, please. Wayne,
Sure.
thank you for addressing my concerns from the last meeting and looking at that proposal again. And I appreciate you doing that and working with the authority.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Please call the roll.
Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Ms. Jamino,
Aye.
Mr. Lutner,
Aye.
Mr. Tenza,
Aye.
Mr. Waters.
Aye.
And then we have a motion for capital seniors housing.
Okay, motion to approve S3W. Oh, no, you have update.
I
on
missed
East
one.
Main.
I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
Skipped over East Main Street sewer main replacement. We are working on that. The design's underway. I'll have more to report next month.
Okay, motion to approve S3W3 for CHS Marlton LLC, care of Capital Seniors Housing, 5 Executive Drive. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Wayne?
This is just off Executive Drive, which is off of Evesham Road and Route 73. Let's see what we've got. 105 bed senior housing unit.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Wayne? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Ms. Jamino,
Aye.
Mr. Lutner,
Aye.
Mr. Tenza,
Aye.
Mr. Waters.
Aye. Public comment. Chris, do we have anyone in the queue?
Now, Ed,
Yes.
there was a S3W3 approval added last minute on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. The one I printed out didn't have that on there. I apologize.
Yeah, same here.
Okay.
Jeff, did you want to read that or did you want me to?
Go ahead. Do you want to read it? Because I don't have it on the agenda that I printed out. Sorry.
So it's a motion to approve an S3W3 for Fox Hollow, also known as Sobolski Track, 465 North Elmwood Road.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Wayne?
I know of this one. I forget the number of homes that are on it. It's just a little bit up Elmwood Road from the
That'd be the
green.
Sobolewski farm.
It's
It
the
is
Sobolewski
Sobolewski
farm.
tract, yes.
42 single family, pretty much
42.
across from Geranium.
Yeah.
Off of
Okay.
North Elmwood.
Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Schmidt?
Aye.
Ms. Jamino?
Aye.
Mr. Lutner?
Aye.
Mr. Tenza?
Aye.
Mr. Waters?
Aye. Public comment. Do we have anyone in the queue, Chris?
You don't.
Okay. Close public comment. General Counsel's report. Mr. Gillespie.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Not much to report, but earlier Wayne mentioned that the Route 70 water and sewer easements were moving along. I'm going to tell you that the appraisals are in process. They are moving along. If we get the appraisals for the next couple of weeks and maybe a week or two before the scheduled September 2nd meeting, I may ask you respectfully to convene a very short meeting to give us authorization. We go into closed session. I would tell you what the numbers are for these proposed easement values and ask your permission to send out the letters to start the process to get these easements that we don't yet have signed, get them going.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Yes, sir. Thanks very much.
Wow, that is a short report, John. Thank you.
John,
All right.
John, can you reach out to me in the morning, please?
I'm just looking at, I've got 8, 9:30, 10, 7:30, 12, and 2 o'clock meetings and a hearing tomorrow night in the Burlington Planning Board. So
Can you
somewhere
have
in there, Lou, I will reach out to you.
Well, can you have George reach out to me? Should I reach out to him directly?
I'll see what his schedule is. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
What did I
Okay,
do?
thanks.
What
All
did
right.
I do?
Not you, George.
Different George.
All right. Board comments. Lou, why don't you lead us off? You're muted.
It was interesting, at the farmer's market a couple of weeks ago, I was kind of tapped on the shoulder and said, a woman that I know in town approached me, and not an elected official, and said, I hear you're causing trouble on the EMUA. I said, what do you mean trouble? And she says, you're bringing up all these safety issues. And I said, well, I don't consider that trouble. I consider that our duty, not only as commissioners, but directors and managers, supervisors, the rank and file, and even the office workers. I mean, I'm constantly hearing every time I bring something up, it was minor. We've talked to the contractor. We'll reinforce safety protocol. And I said this last meeting last month. It's like if you have a child that does something they're not supposed to do, and you tell the child, well, don't do that again. There's no consequences. We have the same thing. There's no consequences with our people. And I don't get that. I mean, safety should be everyone's concern, whether it's in the office with people leaving open a file cabinet drawer, or somebody standing on a chair to get something that's up over their head. I mean, neither one of those things should be done. Or, like I said earlier, going into a manhole unapproved, confined space entry. Or even when somebody's out in the field taking samples. I mean, safety, safety, safety. And it's not a judgment. It's something that we should be performing in accordance with our policies, our handbooks, our manuals. And whether somebody's it's not a judgment, because take somebody out in the field that says, well, I could do this quicker. My judgment is to get it done quicker rather than following safety. I don't think any of us on this commission or any manager wants that to be done. So whether it's to do something faster, or whether there was property damage or bodily injury, and I'm glad to hear that Frank went ahead and had these people drug tested. I mean, it's not judgment. We just have to do it. We just have to enforce things. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. We have to be consistent. We can't show favor. We can't provide a chilling effect to our employees so that they're afraid to bring up any safety issues. Now, I know that John Gillespie knows about chilling effect. I hope everybody else does. If not, I'll let John explain that. But you can get into legal consequences in those particular situations. So, again, it's not the end. I'm going to continue this. I'm not going to be bullied by anybody. I'm not going to be disrespected, and I'm not going to be patronized. So just get used to it. And it's obviously having an effect. If I've got this woman came up to me and asked me what my troublemaking was all about. So that's a good thing. I don't think it's bad, because I think it's something we should encourage from our ratepayers, from our employees, you name it. And I thanked her on the phone earlier today. I'd like to thank Laura for answering my questions regarding some of the financial numbers. Thanks again, Laura.
You're welcome.
That's it. Okay. Al?
Mr. Chairman, before anyone else makes a comment, can we please have some clarification concerning Mr. Kipnis's remarks of people standing on chairs leaving?
No. It's not. I'm not saying that is happening. I'm saying that I don't. The office people are not separate from safety. Safety's global. People try to get something that's on a cabinet or on a bookshelf. I've seen it. I've seen people walk into file cabinet drawers that are left out. I'm not saying that's what's happening at the EMUA.
It's hypothetically, you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not saying something happened at sampling. I'm just saying it cuts across all levels of employment at MUA, at any company. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but we're all concerned. I'm extremely concerned about safety, both in the office and out in the field. But if you're going to make a statement about it, if you're going to say you're bullied about it, Lou, please provide examples of these infractions.
There's no infraction here. It's a statement. I made a statement. I'm going to continue. I'll strike. Please, Christine, if you're going to write anything, strike that word bullied. All I want to know is everybody to know that I'm going to continue, no matter what's said out on the street, in the MUA, or via commissioner. I'm going to continue. It's my cause célèbre.
Okay. Okay. Byron, you're next.
Yeah, so I've been going to these AWWA webinar series. Like today's was on disinfection byproducts. The previous one was like on digital twins. There's been several others. They've been very helpful. Just want everybody to know it's they offer a great perspective, very insightful in understanding the water quality issues that go on in our water systems. Maybe some of them relate to ours, but they're broadly, faced. So they're very valuable, and I thank Jeff for having me signed up for those. Again, kudos to Chris and everyone involved in supporting him for the asset management. I'm looking forward to that being put in place. And finally, thanks to everybody for keeping the water flowing during the pandemic. Really, we think of you all the time. Thank you very much, and for all the effort to be safe. Thanks.
Thank you, Byron. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to everyone for your time tonight. Just quick update on the Finance Committee, and Laura mentioned it during her comments. And then I know I've said this in previous meetings as well. Laura and Jeff, and also our auditor from Bowman, Kirk Applegate, have really done really thorough job of looking at our rate structure, both the water and sewer side. And I think when we come to the rest of the commissioners next month, I think we'll have a good plan in front of you that you can review and digest, and we can look at together as a board of what 2021 may look like and beyond. So, again, thank you for that, Laura. Thank you, Jeff, and also to Al as part of the Finance Committee. I mean, we put some good effort into what is the right thing for us to do with our rate structure. Cognizant of the fact that we haven't had a rate increase in 5 years, and how do we adjust our rates moving forward that's fair and positions the authority for the future. So more on that to come in a few weeks, but I think the rest of the commissioners will be pleased what they're going to see in terms of a future plan and what options we may have. With regard to safety, and I guess what I'm just going to say this, I'm going to direct this to Frank and Jeff. This seems to be every meeting now we're having these types of discussions, and do we have a history of safety issues within the authority or with contractors? And I'm not challenging Lou your comments. I'm just, do we have a third party from an insurance perspective look at us and give us recommendations how we're doing from a safety perspective? I know we have OSHA regulations and inspections and so forth, but I mean, is this a problem that we have to address? And if it so you don't have to address it right now, but it comes up, and I appreciate where Lou's coming from. Safety is very important, but in my time as a commissioner, I don't think we have an occurrence problem or frequency issue. It seems to me that the drug testing that Frank mentioned a little earlier, we had a conversation last year, and that came up, and to Frank's credit, he said that yes, it's in our guideline. We will do it. We look at each situation, but we will do that, and he took care of it. So I have confidence in our operations group. I have confidence in how we're doing things, but I don't get a sense, unless I'm missing something, that we have the frequency issue. And if we do with our employees or contractors, I mean, I'd like to see it raised up, but I don't get that sense, Frank, from what you're reporting, Jeff, what you're reporting. So, Lou, I applaud you, because I come from a risk management background. Yes, safety is so important for our employees, our people, our buildings, everything, and what we do with our customers. But I just don't get the sense that we have a safety problem. And it seems like there's maybe an implication that we do, or I can infer that we have a safety problem. I don't endorse that.
Well, let me say, Frank has the statistics on accidents, and we don't have a lot of accidents. And what we do primarily are minor, thank God. But it's the little stuff that's going to kill us. It's no helmets. It's during COVID, not wearing masks. And, You know, it's, well, we talked to the contractor. Well, if that indeed was as big an issue of going into a confined space, and I'm not going to get into whether it was or it wasn't, but it was reported as such. All I heard was that it was taken care of. That was the answer that I got. Did it result in an accident? No, and I'm not saying these things result in an accident. I'm saying these tiny things, you get out of a truck, you put on your hard hat. These are not difficult things, but at the end of the day, if they're not done, something can happen. And Murphy's Law says it will happen. That's all I'm saying. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm saying that it's the attention to detail. It's the little things.
So, and again, I don't want to debate this back and forth, but are there recommendations for Frank and Jeff that they should consider in terms of modifying our safety plan? So again, I don't want to debate this. I'm struggling with this discussion. Not that it's not an important piece of how we operate, but we have professionals in place who are handling this, and I think they're listening to you, Lou, and I think they're listening to our conversation.
I agree. I applauded Jeff Booth's comment for what they're going to do going forward with Zuli and with other contractors. I wholeheartedly applaud that. I agree.
And I do want to add that since we're going down this road, something that I saw from the last meeting, and I'd like to move forward. And this is for all commissioners. This isn't singling out any one person. But when we do find a picture on social media or we hear a rumor or what have you, if we can check with Jeff on it before the meeting so that we can get the full story, because I know, Lou, you had sent us a couple photos and the way it was described seemed a lot worse than what the photo showed me. I mean, I do agree with you that the employees should have been wearing masks, but I think you had mentioned that they didn't have hard hats on. And when I looked at it, it looked like 3 guys on break. I later found out it was 3 guys finishing a job and going through the paperwork on an iPad. So
that's correct.
I would like to have that context in the conversation. And this is for all commissioners, if you do see something, if you could check with Jeff or both Jeffs, Jeff Booth and Jeff Rollins, to kind of, so we can get the full information or get all, have them do an investigation and be able to provide us with an answer. So that when we're discussing these things in a meeting, we have all the information.
And I did that, Ed. There was another thing that I brought up, and it took me a while to find the particular individual who told me about three employees in a truck.
Mm-hmm.
And I provided specific information. I don't remember. I might have missed off the date. And I'll follow it up. It was June 30th.
I do have to tell you though, Lou, after you said that, it did spark something in my memory. I happen to live by the Westerly Drive lift station. And so I see a lot of our employees coming and going from during the day. And at one point, my wife and I were taking a walk and I saw 3 trucks with 1 guy in each truck. And I thought to myself, that's really inefficient. Why are we doing that? Obviously, because of COVID, it hadn't rung in my head, but I've been walking around and I've been noticing the guys, and I do see 1 guy in a truck. I haven't experienced.
Well, I'm just having a ratepayer that came up to me at the farmer's market, and I have not been able to track him down. This particular individual did not answer a text message that I sent, so I had to wait till I saw him again, and I got that information. I'll have to check my email because I did send it out today. But I will put it in writing that that particular individual told me it was June 30th.
I can comment on it if you'd like, Lou.
Or you can respond.
Go ahead, Jeff, that's fine.
So we did look right into that the very next day when that statement was made about 3 persons in the vehicle. I reached out to every employee that we have, every supervisor or safety security officer, and I asked every one of them individually, did they see that? Did anybody see it? Did this occur? Anybody witness it? And everything. And everybody responded, no, it did not happen. And if I'm correct, I believe that was the same day that I had a discussion with Mr. Rollins about we need to get two people per truck again, as long as they are wearing a mask. So they didn't get that information until probably around noontime or so, that we can now have 2 persons in a vehicle as long as they have a mask and practice social distancing from job site to job site. But getting back to it, I had spoken to everybody, and on my investigation has found it to be unsubstantiated that we did not have 3 persons in the vehicle.
Okay.
And it's quite
Well,
possible.
when I
it's
did
quite
get
possible-
back, when I did double back with this individual, he was still adamant that it was our MUA truck and there were 3 people in it. And this is a member of the business community here in Marlton.
It's quite possible with our neighboring town, they have similar trucks and they have infrastructure assets around the area that you described. It could have been them. All I can say is that I did do an investigation, and everybody, and I followed up with an email for a response, had responded, no, they did not see nothing. They are unaware of anything of such.
Okay.
I mean,
Can't
I'm
do
not
anything more than that.
calling that person, you know, not saying that they're making something up. I'm just saying I did my part, and there's really nothing more that I can do. I believe in our people.
And I just said, that's all you can do.
Frank, did you have one more thing you had to add?
Yeah, I just want to address Mike. Mike, we have a safety manual. The safety manual is modeled on the recommended safety model put out by the JIF, and then we expand it. We also follow, or when we do these policies, we try to follow OSHA. We have to follow OSHA standards. Now, of course, OSHA we answer to PIOSH, but PIOSH doesn't have their own set of standards. They follow OSHA standards. I don't want to get into all the minutia, but just understand too, there are times when, for example, with a particular safety policy, if it's outside the scope of OSHA, if it's outside the, a recommendation of the JIF, there are certain steps that we have to go through to put that practice in place. But what I'm telling you is, our safety manual is compliant with what the JIF requires of us. And again, I don't, for obvious reasons, I mentioned it before, I can't get into a whole lot of detail, but just understand, when we've had employees commit, significant employees commit significant safety violations, discipline has been meted out. In the past, certainly in the 7 years that I've been here. So I don't know if I answered your question, Mike.
No, I appreciate you saying that, Frank. No, that from my perspective, I mean, that was very clear last year when you presented to us about safety and some of the things we were doing and how we put that plan together. And so, no, I hope I'll say, I think I said this last month too. There's not questioning. I'm like zeroing in on time. What I'm saying to you is, I don't think from what I know, we have a frequency issue, and it seems to me that you and Jeff are on top of it, and adjust and adapt where you need to based on situations. So we have guidelines that are in conformance with OSHA and PIOSH and so forth. I'm totally fine with that. What I'm saying is, I'm trying to embrace what Lou's saying because it's important, but I also think it's just important, and this is enough. I'll get off my soapbox. I don't think from what I hear, we have a frequency issue. I think we get it. I think you get it, Jeff. And if Lou has suggestions for improvement, I think he should share those with you and Jeff, and present those to the board for future consideration. That's how I think we should look at it. I'll cede the floor there, Chairman.
No worries. And I do follow up after the meeting. I take notes, and Jeff and I have a call the following day, and I make sure that we get these things addressed, and if there needs to be corrective action taken, that corrective action does happen. All right. Al, you want to go next?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to follow up on Mike's comments pertaining to the Finance Committee meeting yesterday. I think it was very productive. I was certainly pleased to hear some of the things that Kirk Applegate had to say concerning the various aspects of our budget, and also the options that we have going forward, both to keep to be able to pay for capital projects, to cover our expenses as they increase and to manage whatever surplus develops in the course of a year. And I feel very confident that we will be able to manage the finances over the next few years, hopefully with very limited impact on rates. Regarding safety, I'm sure I've said a number of times that I want everybody to go home safe at night. So if there are things that need to be addressed, let's point them out and address them. I think we have an excellent workforce here who are they're meticulous in the way they do their jobs, and I'm sure that if there are certain things that they're doing in the course of a day that may be hazardous, that if they're pointed out, I'm sure that they'll correct them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Al. Nancy, you're up.
But this was going to be quick once we started these comments back 25 minutes ago. And again, I'm not going to follow up anything. I just want to say that I think that the management team of the MUA is exceptional, and they have handled and will continue to handle any issues that come up. And I don't believe our role as commissioner is to direct them. They know what they're going to do, and they report to us and will respond as needed. I wanted to thank you all for taking the initiative to do the cleaning for the ducts for the employees. I think that's a great thing to do. I'm glad everything's moving forward as far as Wayne's project. It sounds like we're really making good progress on a lot of the jobs, and that's always a good thing too. Even putting a hold on the Elmwood storage building at this time just to check to see that the financials are all right. Again, just kudos to the team, because I think that the authority is just well run due to the management team that are on this meeting. And I just did want to mention is, Mr. Chairman, is anyone looking at meeting in person again anytime soon, or to continue in this thing?
You know, that's what I was, it's funny you would say that. I was thinking that earlier today. It's something that I want to look at logistics. I do think if we do meet in person, I would still like to have a video component, because I'm still not sure I'm comfortable with having the public in the room, and then plus having, you know, depending on what the governor's restrictions are for a public meeting, I want to make sure we're in compliance with that. I certainly want to offer the online for people to ask questions or to engage with the board. I just don't want to put the board or the staff into any type of an unnecessarily health risk situation.
And I appreciate that. I just note that every one of our meetings, I don't think there's been any participants in it. And the one time I do remember, it was the mayor, and she didn't say anything, and that's fine. And we rarely have people in the public as well, but I'm not pushing the issue. I was just bringing it up for conversation. And there is a lot to consider.
It is certainly something I've thought about. In fact, earlier today I thought about it, but it just, like I said, it's going to have to look at just from a logistics standpoint. Maybe we'll look at if I'll poll the board and see if, or have Jeff poll the board and see if what everyone's thoughts are. Maybe in September, if we can pull it off, we can do it in person.
And I believe the council has started having in-person meetings.
Okay.
But anyway, again, I'm not pushing. I was just bringing it up for conversation and discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I don't have any issue with the in-person meeting. I just want to make sure everyone else is comfortable.
Absolutely. And everybody has to be. And I agree with having it online as well for those who are not.
Yeah, the council has started with masks and 6 feet distance.
Okay. We'll review it and we'll see what we can do logistically, and we'll look at maybe potentially September if everyone's comfortable doing that. All right. Who's next here? What do we got? George.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Possibly if we could talk to council and see their feedback with their last meeting that they had. We might be able to get a little feedback from them to assist us with that decision.
Okay.
All right. Chris Vandenberg, nice job for setting up that Zoom meeting, first of all, with us. And the asset management contracts. To be a leader in this type of process speaks volumes. I do appreciate that. Also to Laura and to both Jeffs with securing the additional contracts. We're doing pretty good. On another note, I want to thank the committees that are stepping forward, especially that finance committee. You've been working hard. Thank you very much on that. And is glad to see that the COVID incidences that we've had, that we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's to make that happen, and that we're secure with our staffs. In that case, everyone stay well, stay healthy. We'll see you all next month. Have a good one.
Thanks, George. I'll make it quick. I want to thank everybody for their hard work, both on the board and on the management team. I especially want to thank the finance committee. I spoke with Jeff, and I know Jeff has been keeping me apprised and telling me you guys are doing a fantastic job, and I'm really looking forward to the next meeting to hearing what recommendations that you come up with. I do keep in touch with Jeff to make sure financially the MUA continues to be on sound ground financially. So I appreciate all your hard work on this issue. I do want to remind commissioners that if you're communicating with folks, that we give you an MUA issued email, please use it. If for some reason you can't get into that email, please contact Laura or Jeff so that they can help you. I know my understanding is there may be one or two commissioners that are having an issue, so I want to make sure that that issue gets resolved. Again, thanks everyone. Thank you to the staff. Thanks again, Frank and Jeff, for keeping us apprised of any potential COVID issues that happen to happen with our workforce. And thanks again for all your hard work. Our next meeting will be September 2nd, 2020. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good night, all. Please stay well.
Good night.
Good night.
Safe.